Hello everyone. In this video, I will discuss the ACSM 2026 position stand update on resistance training prescription. This article focuses on how resistance training can improve muscle function, hypertrophy, and physical performance in healthy adults. As you watch this presentation, I invite you to think about one practical question. How can these recommendations improve the way we prescribe resistance training in real professional practice? By the end of this video, you should be able to identify the main prescription variables for strength, hypertrophy, power, and physical function. The previous ACSM position stand on resistance training progression was published in 2009. Since then, the amount of research on resistance training has grown substantially. The article mentions more than 30,000 PubMed results related to resistance training since the 2009 guidelines. Because of this growth, the ACSM needed an updated position stand based on contemporary evidence synthesis. The main goal was to provide more flexible, evidence-based guidance for practitioners, students, and researchers. This article is an overview of systematic reviews. The authors screened 5,751 records. They included 137 systematic reviews. Together, these reviews involved more than 30,000 healthy adult participants aged 18 years or older. This type of study helps summarize a large body of evidence. However, the conclusions still depend on the quality and limitations of the reviews that were included. The central message is direct. Resistance training is better than no exercise for several important outcomes. It improves strength, muscle hypertrophy, power, muscular endurance, gait speed, balance, chair stand performance, and timed up and go performance. So before discussing details such as load, volume, frequency, or periodization, we need to remember the first practical message. Healthy adults should perform resistance training. Starting and maintaining resistance training is already a meaningful step for health and physical function. When the goal is maximal strength, the article supports some specific prescription choices. Training at least 2 times per week appears beneficial. Higher loads, especially 80% of one repetition maximum or more, are more effective for strength development. The evidence also supports 2 to 3 sets per session, full range of motion, and performing priority strength exercises early in the session. In practical terms, if strength is the main goal, the program should prioritize heavier loads, technical quality, and appropriate exercise order. For muscle hypertrophy, the main driver is weekly training volume. The article suggests that higher volume, especially 10 or more sets per muscle group per week, supports muscle growth. Load and frequency are more flexible when weekly volume and effort are appropriate. This means that both lower and higher loads can produce hypertrophy, as long as the program is well designed and the training stimulus is sufficient. Eccentric overload may also enhance hypertrophic adaptations when it is appropriate and safely applied. For muscular power, the prescription is different. The evidence supports moderate loads around 30 to 70% of one repetition maximum. The concentric phase should be performed quickly. The volume should usually be low to moderate, because the goal is movement quality and velocity, not fatigue. Olympic-style weightlifting, power resistance training, and eccentric flywheel training may be useful modalities, but they require appropriate skill, safety, and supervision. Resistance training also improves physical function. The article reports improvements in gait speed, balance, chair stand performance, and timed up and go performance. These outcomes are especially important for functional independence, healthy aging, and daily living activities. However, resistance training should not be understood as the only strategy for fall risk reduction. It works best as part of a broader approach that may include balance training, mobility exercises, aerobic activity, and individual assessment. One important contribution of this article is that it challenges some common assumptions. Training to momentary muscular failure was not consistently superior. Free weights were not consistently superior to machine-based resistance training for strength outcomes. Intentionally slow time under tension did not show clear superiority for hypertrophy. Complex periodization schemes were also not clearly superior for general health and hypertrophy in healthy adults. The practical message is not that these strategies are useless. The message is that they are not always necessary. Another relevant point is access. Meaningful resistance training adaptations do not require a traditional free weight gym. Elastic bands, home-based resistance training, circuit training, and velocity-based resistance training can all be useful options. This is important for beginners, older adults, public health programs, and people with limited access to equipment. The best program is not only the most physiologically effective one, it also needs to be feasible, safe, and sustainable. The article gives strong importance to individualization. Progressive overload is important for continued long-term adaptive progress. However, adherence, enjoyment, safety, personal preference, and training goals are essential for sustained adoption. In practice, the program should fit the person. A technically perfect program that the person does not follow will not produce long-term benefits. So the prescription should be evidence-based but also realistic. To summarize, the prescription depends on the goal. For strength, use heavier loads, at least 80% of one repetition maximum, train at least twice per week, use 2 to 3 sets, and prioritize full range of motion. For hypertrophy, load and frequency are flexible, but weekly volume matters. 10 or more sets per muscle group per week is a useful target. For power, use moderate loads, move fast during the concentric phase, and keep volume low to moderate. The universal message is this: healthy adults should train all major muscle groups with high effort at least twice per week, adapting the prescription to individual goals, safety, and adherence. If this discussion was useful, save this final summary and use it as a practical guide for resistance training prescription. Also, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notifications so you do not miss the next videos. Share this video with students, colleagues, or professionals who work with exercise prescription. Thank you for watching.